All right. I'm gonna just say that I'm gonna enter these two video, at least two video series towards just the hope for the just for towards the purpose of change. I think the Order Osho has said that you can't hurry up or prevent change. Change is coming. Change is in the air. Change will happen, and you can't hurry it up or slow it down. You can contribute. You can sacrifice. You can pray. You can have faith, but you actually can't block or rush change. But I think that open dialogue, honesty, honest dialogue, it would be the greatest step. If anything, first of all, it would be maybe honest dialogue and then reason. If we're gonna get anywhere as human beings, it's gonna probably be a combination of maybe you have dialogue, honesty, and and reason would be my would be the best for that. Maybe faith too, but you can't isolate any of those from faith. But it would take something of those, all those. So with all those, I'm saying that this is just in the interest of change. At one point, just by introducing discussions, but so I was thinking of some things like I think the maybe the wickedest thing in life, the wicked witch of life, is violence. Violence is wicked. Violence is bad. You cannot justify violence because violence is not just. Violence is violence is inequity. It's violence is a differential inequity upon and to do violence, one must overstep, that is violate something. Violence is violation. I think it spelled similar. Violence, violation. So to be violent is to violate, to encroach the welfare, the well-being, the esteem, the wherewithal, the the security of another being, and you would have to do so. But that's not the nature of this existence. I don't think violence. Um, and so um, I think that something has been for violence to occur. Something would have to of something's right to exist, privilege to exist, would have to be affronted and breached. Something's privilege to exist and to be stable and confident, healthy and confident. The channel Navajo Teachings expresses on YouTube. Elder Navajo Teachings expresses the profundity of confidence from the people of the Diné people, also known as the Navajo, in the Southwest, in the United States. Some of their elders have shared that there's a profound value on confidence and well-being, and you need confidence to experience well-being, and you need well-being to experience confidence. And you could say much of life, all of life, comes from that well-being and confidence. But to do violence, any form of violence, it would require going past the confidence and well-being of another being's or beings' prerogative to experience confidence and well-being. And to that line, some of the most so you could say that maybe all violence is either prompted or in proximity to some form of economic disparity. That would be my thought, that you can't get away from violence and economic disparity, because even if the violence is not predicated on economic disparity directly, likely the conditions that would fashion the appetite or the propensity for a violent exchange would be attended to, if not in proximity to, some form of economic disparity. Within that, some of the most egregious demonstrations of violence would be like financial violence. That's like debt. That another word for debt is usury. I think they call it riba in Islam. The mixed martial artist the great Khabib Nurmagomedov had an interview, and he actually spoke about he became something of a business person, after he was a very successful fighter. I think like maybe 29 undefeated contests in mixed martial arts professionally. And he was something of a businessman because he's a sturdy kind of guy that people can do deals with. So he had success in business, but he was actually referencing debt riba in one interview in a deep way with another Islamic man. And they were, if you watch that interview, you can appreciate that according to him. And I think the scriptures they were referencing, maybe from the Quran, is that you can actually undermine and displace and supplant an entire people, an entire country, an entire society, with the introduction of usury, that is debt. And that's actually what Jesus Christ was having. One of the things that you don't see. So you take someone as beautiful and sublime as Jesus Christ. What really got him hot was money changing, usury, lending. That's what got Jesus hot, because he knew we can reason he knew the implications of that. And this is not a Christian channel, but I'm just referencing the figure, the person Jesus Christ, as is presented in what's called the Holy Bible. Is that he felt a way about people taking advantage of people upon economic lines, that is money, and what kind of aftermath can come from that. He appreciated that, and he spoke out against that. But I think these dynamics are still right with us, the around money, and then so you have like different, like, then that it starts there, and that in itself can land a person on hard times and starvation, and any amount of suffering can come right there just with the money. But then it can go into more sophisticated and maybe more poignant demonstrations of suffering, such as violence, like with crime. You probably have two forms of crime. You have crime that's outside of the law and crime that's inside of the law, and none is necessarily less painful, wicked, or violent, or wrong than the other. You can have equal violence inside and outside of the law. But an example of violence inside of the law, it would be like money changing. But and so like you have like military stuff like that can be reduced to the economic schism, that would amount to conflict on a broader scale. But a lot of people are just good old folks, man, just regular folks. Even some of your people in arms are just regular old folks. But if they get the command, the order, then they can become more than just regular old folks to other people. And likely the people experiencing suffering will be marginalized. If you were to tell me that there's a conflict going on, and somebody's going to get the worst aspect of that conflict, the most pain, the most loss of that conflict, I would imagine it's going to be the person closer to subsistence. It's in economic terms. But what I meant to say is that, so what are we concerned with in modern times and maybe times past? Delicious things, eating delicious things, and different experiences that happen around eating delicious things. When you eat something delicious, what had that been? A weak, vulnerable, extended, marginalized creature, likely a little old cow. Maybe some of the cows had friends and families on the farms, the deer too, but likely not as many as you. They didn't have as much respect as you. So they were marginalized beings, the cows and the animals that we consume. That delicious steak, that delicious chicken, that delicious fish, it was likely a poor old chicken, a poor old cow, a poor old fish. That fish is like swimming through that much hell, just to spawn, and they swim upstream that whole time. And then when they're forced by necessity to jump over a dammy waterfall in a stream, they get snatched up by a bear that already had too many, can't even eat anymore, but just trying to stuff its stomach because there could be a winter. So the bear is getting fat while the salmon just swam through 1,000 miles upstream just simply to spawn, just simply to exist. And that's a lot of marginalized people. So I want to say is that all these people are feeding on marginalized things, whether that be beings on a plate or human beings close to subsistence.